welcome back to Goodbye Grains. Today we are making muffins, Meyer lemon muffins to be exact. Now Meyer lemons are kind of a cross between sort of a lemon and an orange as far as like flavor. It's not quite as like stark of a flavor as lemons, where you can get some really strong acid from a lemon. It's kind of a little bit more mellow. You kind of almost get a little bit of a hint of sweetness out of the lemons. They're really good. So let's take a look at the ingredients. So for the wet ingredients, we have some melted grass-fed butter. You can definitely also use melted coconut oil if you don't do any dairy at all. You can also use ghee if you kind of want to stay away from butter. And then we have some honey, and we have 5 eggs, and then we're going to use the juice from our Meyer lemons. This is what's going to give us that really nice flavor. Meyer lemons are great because they're kind of a cross between orange and lemon as far as flavor. They're not quite as sour, and you actually get a really nice kind of flavor that adds and kind of almost lends a sweetness. And then we have a little bit of coconut milk. And then for our dry ingredients, we have some baking soda, just a pinch of sea salt we're going to use. Don't use kosher salt here, use sea salt, and then a little bit of coconut flour. So let's assemble the batter. So the first thing I usually do is actually crack the eggs, and the reason that I do that is so that if I accidentally get any shell in, I'm not trying to fish it out with having all the other wet ingredients in there. Sorry, my eggs are going all over the place. And then I can also whisk the eggs all together and not have to worry about whisking once all the dry ingredients are in, just to kind of keep the batter from getting tough. The one nice thing is since obviously there's no gluten in coconut flour, you don't have to worry about kind of really overworking the batter the same way that you do if you are making muffins with like normal flour, just because normally you don't want the gluten development to get really hard. And see, I dropped a little bit of the shell. You kind of are more so worried about the gluten developing and making almost like a really tough muffin. And so obviously you don't have to worry about that with these ingredients. So we're going to mix our eggs all together. And then we can add the rest of our wet ingredients. So we have our coconut milk and our melted butter. And then our honey, and this is just a couple tablespoons of honey. It's not a ton of honey, or you could also use maple syrup. The reason that I use honey, and I actually use raw local honey, and the reason that I do that is because you already get some of the floral notes from honey, and since we're doing like a Meyer lemon muffin, I didn't want to overpower the lemon flavor with maple syrup. So that's why I'm using honey. You can use whatever sweetener of choice, or you can leave it out altogether. Obviously you'll have a slightly different texture if you do have 0 sweetener in there, and obviously it also won't be quite as sweet. And then we're going to add the juice of 2 of these Meyer lemons. So as you can see, there's a ton of seeds in here, so make sure that you hold your hand underneath and catch any of the seeds, just because that you do not want in a muffin bite. The other thing is if you can't find Meyer lemons in your store, I actually found mine at Sprouts. They were next to the lemons, but they were in like a separate, almost like in a bag that you had to buy. I think you bought 5 of them in a bag. If you can't find those, you can certainly substitute and do 1 whole lemon and then do a little over half of the juice of an orange. And then you're kind of going to get a similar type of flavor profile and, sourness level, and also, kind of sweetness level out of that. So now that we have our lemon juice in, we can whisk all of these dry ingredients, or wet ingredients, together before we add the dry. And you really want to kind of make sure the honey gets incorporated into the batter, just because you don't want all the honey to be sitting at the bottom, and then you're not going to have a very cohesive batter. So we can take the whisk out, and we are going to add in our dry ingredients. So we have a little bit of that sea salt and some baking soda. And then we're going to add in our coconut flour. And now if you ever cooked with coconut flour before, you know that as the batter kind of sits, the coconut flour will continue to kind of soak up the liquid and get make the batter quite a bit thicker. So right when you kind of put your coconut flour in, it may look like there's no way this is ever going to set up, but as you leave it to sit for about 3 to 5 minutes, it'll definitely get to be much more thick and scoopable to put into our muffin pans. So we're gonna let this sit, and I'm gonna go grab my muffin cups. Okay, so as you can probably see, the batter's thickened up quite a bit. It's not nearly as loose, but it's still nice and fluffy. So I'm actually going to use, I think I've talked about these like a long time ago, maybe 6 months ago. These are these silicone baking cups that I like to use. They're reusable. You don't need to have a muffin tin because even with batter in them, they can stand on their own just on top of a baking sheet. If you don't have these, you can definitely just go to the store and you get the liners, and you can just put your muffin liners into a regular muffin pan, and you can bake your batter that way. I like using these too because then you don't have to spray them with any additional oil or any other stuff. They just come out super easily, and then you can serve them in these. You can, you know, pop them out and then serve them just on a plate, whatever you want to do. So what we're gonna do is just fill up our baking cups, and you want to fill these all the way up to the top. And the reason for that is they will rise and kind of puff up a little bit, but it's not like regular muffins like with gluten and stuff where they rise up a ton, where you kind of only fill like 2/3 of the way and stuff. These you want to fill all the way up to the brim. So you can kind of go through and fill up most of your muffins, and then you can kind of go back and just add in little scoops to kind of get it all the way up to the top. And this makes 9, you know, pretty good sized muffins. If you want them to be a little bit bigger, you can use 6 of the really big muffin cups, the ones that I think take about a cup of batter in them. You can certainly do that. The cooking time though on those will change, just so you know. So definitely kind of keep an eye on those. They wouldn't be ready as quickly as these smaller guys are. But we are going to preheat our oven to 375 degrees. And once that is preheated, then we are going to pop these in. Okay, so it's been about 25 minutes that these were in the oven, and then I took them out and let them sit here for about a minute or two to start kind of cooling. And as you can see, they kind of get a nice little lightly golden brown top, and they are still super fluffy. So I can kind of show you if I carefully break into one. You can see they're still incredibly fluffy and soft, and they would taste great with either some extra melted grass-fed butter, plain as they are. Definitely a perfect little treat. Now these muffins would also taste great with some fresh berries kind of thrown in, especially fresh blueberries. My husband loves kind of the lemon blueberry combination, so that would also taste great in these. These are perfect also if you kind of just want to sort of surprise someone with some fresh baked muffins and you know that they are good for them. So I will see you guys next week. Bye.